Good morning, Mike's Diabetes World. Well, it's actually evening, and Nico and I are out for our cool afternoon walk. Got a little warm again, but we can't complain. Anyway, today I thought I'd talk about reusing single use items. Hi, it's Mike. Just wanted to interject here that I am not a doctor or a certified diabetes educator. Any ideas you take from these videos, you should get checked with your doctor. Yeah. Now, years ago, my mother went to the pharmacy after I'd just been released from the hospital. Oh, sorry. And my doctor had written the prescription, and she was asked, did I want to do the glass ones, or would I like to try the disposable ones? Well, thanks to her intuitiveness, or she went with the disposable ones. And I can remember they were monojacked and they came in a big tube, and I was told I had to break, put the lid back on and break them in half because they came in kind of like a plastic container. And okay, I didn't think anything of it. And then I went off to school, and there were BD, and I used those. So I've always sort of been disposable syringes until I went onto the pumps. Well, nowadays you really don't have a choice, or do you? Well, it wasn't really my doctor. I was in the hospital because my blood sugar really wasn't working right. And he said, well, yes, you can use a syringe more than once, but you have to soak it in alcohol and then let it air dry. And so I did take that as a thing, and I started to use one needle. It was like one needle per month. And I can remember my mom and my dad saying, oh, do you need needles? And I said, no, I still have lots of them. Until one of my sites, injection sites, got infected. And at this point, I was taught about rotating stuff that we still use, whether you have a pump or you are still on the syringes. And these were they came up with little laminated guides and a little sort of like a grease pencil, and you would check off or make some sort of mark that you have used that site. And there was one site if you used your site twice. And I have got some scarring tissue from not using a sharp needle all the time. Sometimes I knew it was time to change when it started to hurt. Now, back in the day, disposable needles were more pricier. But as soon as the disposable needles came online, then the glass needles were pretty well passé. And, there were an awful lot of diabetics who got on the bandwagon pretty quick, but were buying them for friends and other people. So people used them, and then they tightened up, and you had to show ID when you bought them and all sorts of things. During that time, it promoted, because they were harder to get, they promoted reusing your needles. And they would become dull. And then after they became dull, they hurt. If you use a clean, itchy. If you use a clean, sharp needle, life goes so much easier. You can put it in. Now, can you reuse needles? Physically, you can, and in an emergency, yes, but just try to use one that's the cleanest. If it's been in the garbage, don't go out pulling it out. You want to make sure that you do it no more than once. If you need to take your morning shot, well, make sure you go out and get some syringes and needles and the whole rigmarole before your next appointment. Or if you've gone away, some places it's really hard for a diabetic who isn't known to get needles. Now, so blood testing came into play, and you would, have to use your lancets. But the lancets, people bickered over, so I'm just talking small amounts of money. And then you wouldn't really go out and, now the lancets, you could use them. No one has to know. It used to be, I used to buy a box, and, it was, I notice here you haven't bought any lancets in a while. Why? I reuse them. And I would get, huge scabs on my fingertips. And it's ended up to being that I was doing up to 8 blood sugars a day. So, once I started using a sharp, clean lancet, things would go so much quicker. I didn't have to get into sort of roping it or tying it off with. I had an earplug I was using, and I didn't have to do that. And, now I look back on that and saying, what the hell was I doing? Now, there are times I'll go away for a weekend, let's say, and I'll forget my extra lancets or whatever, or syringes, and I'll use a site over and over again. Now, when we're talking about reusing equipment, there's one big equipment that you should be careful with, and I do have scarring of tissue, and that is your body. Using syringes, you should make sure that you want to rotate the sites, whether you're going to be pumping or you're doing shots. Now, when I first was diagnosed, I used to do in my legs. And, it was kind of like, well, I was told over and over again by a doctor or a nurse that you could do it in your stomach. And I didn't want to do it in the stomach. Now the stomach's my favorite. It doesn't mean I don't do it in the legs if I need to do a shot. But you need to make sure that you rotate, because your tissue can sort of get saturated. And you don't really want that to happen, because you build resistance. And overweight is one of the ways. Second is you want to make sure that your body is accepting what you're giving to it. So, you can reuse in emergencies. That would be my number one suggestion. But doesn't necessarily mean that that should be the only time. Sorry. What I'm saying is that should be the only time you're using. So, be wise. Don't play around. Take your time and do it right. Use a clean syringe. Don't fiddle around with your body. Rotate and take it easy. Anyway, have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.